Welcome to the Plant Engineering Webcast, Data as a Service, the Trends and Technologies Powering the Future, sponsored by Epicor. I'm your moderator, Chris Favre. I'm the Web Content Manager for CFE Media and Technology, and I'm happy to join you today on behalf of Plant Engineering. Here are some tips to help you get the most from today's webcast. If you're experiencing issues with your slides or audio, refresh your browser or click the Refresh Media button directly under the presenter's picture. You can control the volume of this webcast by adjusting the volume on your computer or by adjusting the volume on the webcast platform. If you are having technical problems with the audio or the slide presentation, click on the question mark at the top right corner of your screen to access a list of system checks to try before contacting an online technician. However, if you do need a technician, type a message in the Ask a Question box and someone will get to you as quickly as possible. Type questions for our speaker in the Ask a Question box on the left side of your screen. The live Q&A session will begin after the presentation concludes. Today's webcast is being recorded. You will receive an email within a week with the link to the on-demand event. To download a certificate of completion, a PDF copy of the presentation, and other additional resources, use the Event Resources tab on the left side of your screen. These documents will also be available with the on-demand version of this webcast. Now we will hear from the sponsor of today's webcast, Epicor. At the conclusion of the video, you may experience a few seconds of silence to compensate for varied internet speeds. Please stay tuned after the video for today's presentation. All right, I'm happy today to introduce our presenter for this webcast, Kerrie Jordan. Kerrie is the Vice President of Product Management at Epicor. Kerrie leads the strategic direction of Epicor's cloud-enabled industry productivity solutions to ensure they continue to deliver high-value, innovation, security, and insight for Epicor customers. Thank you for joining us today, Kerrie. The floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak with you today about these very important topics, how trends and game-changing technologies like data as a service and automation are driving the future of manufacturing and engineering. So as you heard, I'm Kerrie Jordan. I'm the VP of Product Management at Epicor. We're a billion-dollar software company, and we provide industry productivity solutions like ERP, financials, operations, MRP, MES, work instructions, business intelligence. I could go on to over 20,000 of the world's most essential and hardworking businesses in the global make, move, and sell economy. I lead a team of product managers that work very closely with business leaders like the C-suite, engineers, finance professionals, plant floor supervisors, shipping clerks, and those in the IT profession. So I hope you'll find this to be a valuable and informative use of your time, because I'm going to share with you what we have seen happening out there across the industry and pass on some pragmatic advice. I'm going to share some guidance that we've learned in working together with these forward-thinking and successful manufacturing organizations. So this is the agenda that we've laid out for you today. First, I'm going to talk with you about how to create a satisfying work environment. We'll talk about the trends and technologies that are really shaping data as a service, or DaaS, and automation. We'll talk about how you can overcome some of the challenges that face manufacturers going through these sorts of implementations. We'll talk about best practices that we see data first manufacturers really taking head on and establishing across their business. When you're ready to get started, we've got a couple steps that you can take in order to get there, and then some resources to learn more. All right. So I really want to share with you first about creating a satisfying work environment. This will really lay the groundwork, I think, because we have to start with the team, right? I mean, the people that you work with every day, no matter the advancements in technology, it has always been and will always be the people that you work with that matter the most to your business. They're your greatest investment. They play a critical role in everything that we'll be talking about here today. So I think it's right that we begin by listening to them and how they feel about the trends and the technologies that are powering the future, really how it impacts them. And what better way to do so than listening to the voice of the essential manufacturing worker? So Epicor just published a survey of 600 frontline workers for our first ever Voice of the Essential Manufacturing report. So if you haven't read it yet, you can find it on the Epicor website. It's at epicor.com/blog. But I want to share with you some highlights. And this is really going to be carried throughout the presentation as we go. We sought to find out how broader industry issues impact factory workers. Issues like higher regulations, supply chain disruptions, increased consumer demand, economic uncertainty. And I'll give you these highlights here. So first of all, 52% said morale is high at their company. 41% said average and 7% said low. This is kind of mediocre, right? We would want, of course, there to be a lot more that said morale is high. So why? Why did those that had high morale say they had high morale? They pointed to a couple things: flexible work schedules, more paid time off, and receiving bonuses or higher pay. So morale is, of course, tied to more income, but also to better work-life balance. Okay, speaking of how these industry issues affect workers, the number one challenge that they pointed to was the high cost of raw materials. And this is interesting, right? Because it seems like it would be a C-suite issue, but actually it impacts a number of areas that frontline workers experience on a day-to-day basis. So rising costs could mean that they might not have the usual materials to actually work with. Maybe they get behind in the delivery. Maybe they need to use different lower cost materials. Potentially that lower quality could impact the rest of the line. Spending more on raw materials could mean budget cuts elsewhere, which is stressful. That could cascade and result in higher workloads, making it more difficult to take time off and therefore creating lower morale. So that could drive people to look for a change, right? So we actually found kind of a large amount, a significant amount. 56% said they plan to leave their job in the next year. Generally, they said that they're looking for more flexibility, they're looking for higher pay, and they're looking for a better work-life balance. So what matters to them? I was actually a bit surprised by this, but it does make sense, and I'll tell you why. 60% said that they prefer to work for a more technology-driven factory or even a more sustainable factory. 60%, that's high. And they even said that they'd be willing to take a 10% pay cut to go work for a more technology-driven or more sustainable factory. Elsewhere in the survey, we did ask about, what's the most rewarding thing about your day-to-day job? What do you find the most fulfilling, or do you enjoy the most? The number one answer, I don't think you'd be surprised by this, was building something tangible, building something that lasts with their hands. And the second was was participating in the mission of your company. So really being a part of something bigger, something making a difference, which of course, something like sustainability and advancing manufacturing through technologies, being on the cutting edge are all aspirational missions to be a part of. Another interesting find was 80% said that their company was making upskilling a priority. And that aligns very well with our collective focus on our people, right, throughout the manufacturing industry, and investing in the team. So tools, technologies, methodologies do change often. So of course, we need to continue to upskill in this industry. All right, so let's take a look at some key learnings that we found as we, looked through the data and pulled out those really important takeaways. First, we suggest making technology and sustainability a priority within your business, with 6 out of 10 respondents saying that they would take a pay cut to go work for a more technology driven or a more sustainable factory. That sends a pretty strong message that workers are really paying attention and they care about the types of companies that they work for. Most people want to work for a more modern organization, one that's aware, one that cares for the community, for its people, and seeks to have a broader positive impact on the world around them. So you could consider maybe having outreach programs to nearby schools, nearby high schools, trade schools, perhaps more ethical manufacturing criteria for your approved suppliers. Historically, we've really seen manufacturers have focused on quality and customer service and have hired more workers to make these kinds of improvements. But as we know, that can be expensive and it can fluctuate over time. So we'd recommend consider empowering the people that you have on your team with technology to assist them with a different kind of skill set to be more effective. All right, so second here is providing flexible work schedules and more paid time off. We saw throughout the survey that people really crave flexibility. They crave that time off. And if necessary, they're going to seek out a new employer to find it. So I think what we're seeing here are the influences of the pandemic resetting how everyone thinks about the traditional ways of working versus new ways. So our guidance is offering more flexibility and more paid time off. Will really demonstrate to your workers that your management team is listening. And this is something that we saw that they desire as well. They said this throughout the survey. They want to be heard. They want for leadership to take action. So how do you do it, right? Modern technology platforms can enable the types of communication required for hybrid work or from work from home models. They can help you create automation within your business. They can help you empower workers with the information that they need while on the go remotely, so that they can be more efficient and collaborate, just as well, if not better. And then third here is continue to invest in upskilling your workforce. As you look to bring in new technologies like automation, like data as a service, potentially even technologies like augmented reality, AI, 3D printing, keep investing in your people too. You're doing a great job, and do continue, because a people-centric approach to automation is highly recommended. That's when you will equip the people on your team with the know-how to carry you and your organization into the next 3 to 5 to 10 years or more into the future. Not only will upskilling programs like online courses, apprenticeships, on-the-job training result in a more skilled workforce and more qualified workers, but they'll be more engaged as well. That shows that you are investing in them and in their future, and that you care to have them on the team. All right, so that's how we recommend you start thinking about creating a satisfying work environment that really, sets the stage for what we want to dig in today. And that is the trends and the technologies that are driving data as a service and automation. All right, so let's start here first with data as a service. What is it? There are a lot of definitions out there. So let's set the context as to how we're thinking about data as a service, or DaaS, as you might hear. In this context, we're talking about a business model where machine-readable data is exchanged for something of value. So there may be many types of technologies that would enable this kind of model and that exchange of value. So most common are cloud technologies in order to scale with the amount of big data that's being exchanged. You might see data warehouses or data lakes to consolidate, to store, to process, and to protect that data. You would see business intelligence or analytics technologies that tap into that data warehouse or those data lakes to look at that information, to transform it, to continue to use it and really visualize the data so that people can get insights. They can see that information and use it to make decisions in the business. You might see chatbots to explain that data or those visualizations in plain language. That is really on the cutting edge. That's where we're starting to see now tools like OpenAI, start to be able to look at this data and explain it to the everyday business user. Machine learning and AI technologies can also look to make predictions based on that data. E-commerce websites, marketplaces will allow users to actually, and businesses to go in and exchange that data as transactions. And data as a service is interesting because it can also enable new revenue opportunities for manufacturers in the form of service-based or subscription-based models. So if you have the kind of business where you could have that subscription-based model, this is something to really consider. I'll use Epicor as an example, since I'm obviously close to it. The Epicor Parts Network is one of the world's largest automotive aftermarket e-commerce networks. It contains 50 years of data, and this really allows a vast amount of buyers and sellers to share real-time parts inventory and pricing information in order to get the right automotive part to the right place at the right time. It catalogs over 17 million unique parts and processes. It processes 700 transactions per minute every day. So imagine you take your car to a mechanic. As a consumer, right? You need a part for the engine, and in the likelihood that the dealer that you're at is a part of this Epicor Parts Network, they can quickly find exactly the part that they need for your make, model, and year of your vehicle, where it is in stock, if it's available at alternate locations, and then they can order it in order to get you and your car back on the road and on your way as fast as possible. So that's a great example of data as a service in action today within business. Okay, if we go to the next one, now let's tackle automation. So when we are talking about automation, this is different in that while DaaS is a business model transacting data for value, automation is really the use of that data to create value within your business, like using equipment or technology to automate actions based upon the flow of data through systems or processes. So here are some examples. We've got robotic process automation, workflow automation, and AP automation listed here. Robotic process automation is really rapidly growing in popularity within manufacturing. This is a form of business process automation that makes it easy to define a set of instructions for robots to perform, such as repetitive tasks on the shop floor. Workflow automation is also growing in popularity, especially now that manufacturing organizations, typically have a variety of cloud-based applications that they use. That could be ERP, it could be email systems, your CRM or customer management systems, it could be your HR tools. The workflow automation integrates your business applications to automatically set off action in one system based on an event in another. So there are so many, probably an infinite number of possibilities here. But for example, many companies with the Epicor ERP solutions like Kinetic, for example, might also have Salesforce, and they can set up workflows that use the APIs to create a record in Salesforce when a new PO is created in Kinetic, right? Just as an example. I'm sure you can think of many, many ways in which you could create those integrations and workflow automation across your system. This also helps you to maintain accurate information across systems. Another common example is AP automation. This uses machine learning and content services to digitize invoices for accounts payable. So, as they're receiving the invoices, they can quickly scan them, read them, route for approvals, track the process, store them in an online repository, and ultimately pay suppliers. Okay, so just a couple examples that I wanted to kind of talk through when we're thinking about data as a service and then automation. So how does this help your business? So if we think about the case for automation, the case for data as a service, let's take a look at why these technologies matter and some of the benefits that they might provide to your business, and actually how they tie directly back to, in some cases, the voices of the essential manufacturing workers that we just saw. We went through that report. So I've got a couple more details here too as we go through these, but one of the primary objectives that we see companies pursue data as a service or automation technologies is to really help team members in your workforce be more effective. If you recall, the flexible work schedule and more paid time off, but also management listening to staff and better tools and technologies are things that workers really care about. And this is how you can really put that into action to give them that extra level of flexibility. Using data to automate processes or to gather insights across the operations, business, customers, or even out into your industry could mean that your workers are more informed and they can be more productive that way. It can also to help decrease workloads. So if they are now overwhelmed with too many tasks, perhaps they're seeing or you're seeing quality suffer in your business or your products. You might even be seeing high turnover rates. This could really help decrease the workloads and to improve employee morale. It can help you rebalance. Maybe there are some workers that have higher workloads than others, and now you have the greater visibility across the team to help them balance that. This will also help every day and your longer term goals by really empowering everyone who needs it with visibility into schedules, into material shipments, and other operational information so that your team is really informed and ready to go. All right, when it comes to next here, let's talk about increasing production capacity. This is very closely related to helping the team be more effective, really with better insight into the systems and the processes that they're performing. They can see if they're performing as expected. They can see which may be lagging behind. And that better insight gives you the ability to really streamline processes. You can take action to correct those that are not working as you want them to work. And you can anticipate some operational challenges as well. You can use this data that's gathered from the production line to improve throughput and to reduce downtime in your business. Not only is internal data helping companies to increase production capacity, but understanding what's happening out there in the business, out there in the industry can help you anticipate changes. Maybe you need to increase production capacity. Maybe there's going to be changes that you're going to have to decrease. Being able to know what's coming and pivot accordingly allows you to increase this flexibility within your business. All right, next I want to talk about here is reducing costs and risk. So if you have initiative across your business to reduce cost, to reduce risk, I strongly encourage you to consider automation within your business and potentially even data as a service. You'll remember workers cited the increased cost of raw materials as their toughest challenge, their number one. It's actually followed closely by supply chain shortages and the workload that they're dealing with. So you can really, consider this to automate tasks that are repetitive or would benefit employee well-being if they were automated, such as automating those that could pose a risk to employee health and safety on the shop floor. Automating data entry or triggering events from one system to another without manual intervention reduces the likelihood of costly errors that could potentially show up later down the line, and then would be more difficult to solve for. Responding faster to supply chain disruption, really with a data-first approach, can help you consolidate data from multiple sources, potentially reduce the amount of duplicated data that you have across your business, and then better leveraging your ecosystem of suppliers helps you to improve communication and collaboration with them. It helps you create, better relationships with your customers as well. You can have stronger negotiation capabilities once you have that level of data and insight, and you can have greater influence and control over your own destiny. All right. The way in which we see organizations using data in new and different ways, it's exciting to see it happen around offering more personalized customer experiences. I talked about that example, right, with the Epicor parts network in the automotive aftermarket. If you have, you go into the dealer and you have your specific, make, model, year of your car, you have specific parts that are required for yours. And if you go to a dealer who, doesn't know how to find that part, doesn't know exactly what is required for your vehicle, you could take a long time then, and you're going to get frustrated, right? But if you go to one that knows exactly what it is that you need to find, can quickly search for it, sees where it is in a nearby location, can order it or go pick it up, you'll be on your way. What a great customer experience that was. So, keeping that kind of competitive edge in mind, you can begin to become your customer's trusted partner, that trusted brand that they go to, when they need to make a purchase from you. This can really help you maximize sales and efficiency at the service counter right? The point of sale, maybe you're at trade shows, dealers, maybe you're meeting your customers online, really wherever that is, being empowered with data to create a personalized experience for them. I've actually seen this done as well through CPQ tools, the configure price quote, having a beautiful 3D visualization as your customers are configuring their order so they can see it in real time, they can measure it, and they can see what options are available because you've set up those rules within your configurator, right? So they can then visualize that and place that order and move faster. What a great personalized experience. That's very unique to them. So a great tool. Also here, thinking about aggregating those variety of experiences so that when they come to your business, they can easily see what they've ordered, in the past. Maybe they need to make a repeat order. It makes it very easy if these kinds of experiences are tailored and served up to them through technology. Also, it helps to ensure the accuracy and you're delivering faster and on time. Again, really great ways to create a powerful customer experience, one that will be remembered. Sustainability. This was another one, and I wanted to also point out the amount of organizations that are pursuing sustainability. So a couple more details here from that Voice of Essential Manufacturer survey. When we asked, how is your organization doing at making sustainability a priority? Check that out. About 50% said it's a high priority, 44% said mid-level, and then only 6% said it's a low priority. So that's pretty significant. Collecting and leveraging data about tracking and improving sustainability efforts really helps to contribute overall to those ESG initiatives, or environmental, social, and governance. Understanding where your costs are going and how you can reduce waste will help you really identify those areas that could be improved. And then using technology like automation can help you really, manage and monitor your sustainability efforts and report out. You can start by tracking sustainability metrics, but eventually even using and incorporating data, like we were saying, not only from your internal systems, but from external within the industry as well, can really help you make changes to your business operations to be more sustainable. And as we kind of wrap up this section, before we get to some, suggestions about implementations and, best practices, how to get started, all that stuff, I just wanted to share with you too those technologies that are the most popular. I thought this was pretty interesting when we asked thinking about those that said their business is more modern, or those that said that they want to work at a more technology-driven factory. These were those that really were at the top of the list, the top 4 technologies that they are using. First is big data, which points really closely to data as a service, right? So we're already collecting this amount of data across the business, be that through IoT machines, through ERP transactions, through, it could be a variety of sources that all this information is coming in, all the different applications, CRM tools, HR, and really having this wealth of information. And big data tools, this is a broad category that could include solutions like we were talking about business intelligence, data warehouse tools, cloud-based technologies that really enable the ability to gather, synthesize, analyze, and scale with the amount of information that we're seeing compiled today. So truly not surprising to see this at the top, but it is exciting because this is a critical foundation to the future of data as a service and automation. The next one here, robotics or artificial intelligence. So I was excited to see this one was up high because, if we're talking about improving employee well-being, the health and safety of your workers, ensuring that you have the robotics in place to, take over those potentially dangerous activities on the shop floor, those that maybe are more repetitive or pose a risk to employee health and safety, having robotics to take that over, I think is wonderful, and also to help generally automate the manufacturing process. The third one here that they pointed out was augmented reality. So visualizing the manufacturing process, using that to track data, using that within the quality assurance area. You can also imagine work instructions, right? So if you have augmented reality, and you can look at the device and then see, where particular pieces need to go, right? Where fasteners need to go, where different screws or other raw materials need to go within maybe something that you're fabricating. Pretty exciting to see augmented reality, I think, take shape here. Just one example, 3D printing. I was actually kind of surprised to see that this wasn't more popular, especially since we see this is really helping to accelerate the manufacturing process. All right. Okay. So those were the top technologies. As you're thinking about this, I'd be curious to, hear how you would respond. What are the top technologies that you see? There are plenty more actually listed within the survey. And of course, those that are supporting these kinds of larger technologies like cloud-based applications or even nanotechnology. So it's pretty exciting to take a peek. So I encourage you to do so. All right. Let's now dig into how you could overcome those kinds of challenges in implementations, challenges within the implementations. So, as you undertake a transformative initiative like data as a service or automation technologies, we refer to this as taking a data first approach, right? So you might hear data first manufacturing, data led manufacturing. So I'll kind of refer to having a data first strategy as we talk about the challenges that you might take on as you go to implement something like this. Okay, so here is the overall list. I'll go through this and give you some advice. Those that we've seen tackle some of these and how they overcame them. So first would be getting a handle on your data. As I went through all of the great benefits, the great things that you could achieve with, data as a service and automation, it could seem daunting because maybe you're in a place, and most companies are, by the way, where it's like, I just don't know. I don't even know what data is out there. I don't know where to find it. I'm sure it's duplicated. I think it's on a variety of, different locations. So just getting a handle on all of that data that's out there where most people start. And this can be overwhelming. So I would consider exploring, what data currently exists. What data do you need? What do you need the data for? As you're collecting data, you can find out if it's duplicated in other locations. Is it accurate? How much cleaning will it need? Do you have a platform in place to store it all, a technology platform, be that a data warehouse or a data lake? And you would want to ensure that this is one that's modern, that it processes, analyzes, stores, and secures that data and will scale and continue to grow. There are a lot of tools out there regarding data storage, data processing. So I think having an idea of how much data you have to start out with will really help you from a budgeting perspective when it comes time to, looking at the different solutions that are out there and where you want to start. So, getting a handle on the data, just consolidating it, gathering it before you, even consider, getting insights into it or, applying it to make business decisions. Is really just understanding what's all out there. You can tackle this in phases. I've seen that happen. And you could chunk it out in terms of, kind of those questions I laid out, right? What's out there? What do I need? Is it duplicated, right? So you can have those kinds of phases and milestones that you work towards. All right, next is protecting data privacy and security all day, every day. I think we all know this. As you begin to collect data from the variety of sources within your company, you're going to want to prioritize data privacy and data security, while at the same time allowing data to be accessible and meaningful to you and your team members. So there are a lot of compliance regulations out there that change often that may be applicable to your business, like CCPA, GDPR. If you are unsure of the governmental regulations that apply to your business, I do encourage you to seek legal counsel. You're going to want to make sure that the data you're gathering is protected with multiple layers of security on your systems. So ways in which you could do this is multi-factor authentication. This is referred to as MFA. It might be 2FA, two-factor authentication for logins. You're going to want to make sure that the cloud applications and the access points that you're using are encrypted. They're backed up. You have disaster recovery in place. Set up firewalls for your on-prem resources. Install antivirus. And above all, make sure that you're monitoring and that you're anticipating attacks and have a plan in place if something were to happen. All right. Next, a challenge to overcome would be creating a plan or standards to really maintain data governance over time as you go. So as you're gathering data from a variety of sources across your company, you need to not only make sure that it's usable, but it's up to date as well. So you want to have a plan and standards in order to maintain data and ensure that it's complete, that it's accurate, that it's true, because you're going to want to allow for trust and accuracy within your data. Good data hygiene really comes from good data governance. So this is another area that a modern technology platform with all those security controls in place can really help you to manage the data, to evolve over time with the applicable data standards, ensure that security is in place. It can help you scale with volume, support, storage, and processing with modern APIs. Okay, next I want to talk about is any of the organizational resistance that you might come across, and that can really slow your efforts in transforming to be a data-first organization. So you want to be intentional about change management. This could potentially be a large project that you take on. And so, any of those other transformative efforts that you would undergo, really paying attention to the team, to their concerns is really important here as well. Your organization may be used to collecting and working with data in a certain way, and maybe you want to change that, right? Maybe you need to shift the culture in order to make it a more data-first company. So, you want to involve your workforce early. You want to listen to their concerns. You want to capture their ideas. You can even form a key team that will lead the change. They'll champion the new approach. They'll collect feedback as you go. And, this is also a great time to offer training and development for your workforce, right? We talked about upskilling and how important that is. Data analysis is a very popular skill, a well sought out skill, and what a great way to invest in your team and show them that they matter to your organization. This is something that workers value greatly. Next one is, it is easy to overcomplicate. Data overload is real. We all know how projects can bloat. So you want to stick to your strategy. My advice is to clearly define the problem that you need to solve and identify what success looks like. So how will it be measured? My suggestion here would be to pick just 3 to 5 key performance indicators or KPIs to help guide your data collection decisions. You can add more later, but start with 3 to 5. These will be your baseline metrics that'll help your team avoid data overload and it'll help them to gain confidence over time. So this could include measures like production volume, downtime, inventory costs, production capacity, really tie it to a pain point and start from there. Okay, the last one here is building in business resilience to respond to a changing market. So I think, something often overlooked is really the impact of external data and how it could impact your operations. It really, I think, is a great thing to do to look out into the industry, to incorporate external data, both from the market and the industry. This could include information like climate change, weather data, geopolitical forces, material shortages, and really other factors. You could get this information from industry trade groups. You could sign up for data networks within your application provider, like the Epicor Parts Network that I described earlier. Some of these already exist and are thriving, and you can just tap in. And how incredible would this be, really, to start to apply predictive technologies? And then you can start to anticipate pricing fluctuations for raw materials based on forecasted changes in your supply chain due, again, to the weather or the geopolitical forces, right? So you can really start to do some pretty incredible things once you have that data and you can start to apply predictive technologies. Okay, so these, you'll probably come across, I'm sure there are many others, but if you go in with your eyes open, you can really be aware of the challenges and take actions to overcome them. Focusing on taming your data, keeping it fresh, keeping it protected, and not overcomplicating things can really help you build your data first strategy. Okay, best practices to being a data first manufacturer. All right, so as you're ramping up your data first strategy, let's review some best practices to keep in mind. Okay. So, I mentioned we often work with manufacturers in the industry. So, I want to share with you some of the best practices that we see leaders use today. First would be to, again, security, right? Number one, prioritize security, design in security, privacy, and access controls. So, as you begin to adopt a more data first and technology forward practice, make sure that security and privacy continues to remain your priority. You can't just set it in the beginning and forget about it. This is something you need to continue to nurture and build into your initiatives. As you integrate more technology into your organization, expand your resources into the cloud, you want to continue to build a robust approach to security to keep your data safe. Second one here is be comprehensive. Consider incorporating, not just your internal data, but again, that external data to really take your data strategy to the next level. Seek out applicable external sources, market and industry data. I mentioned you could look to the data networks that are already out there, industry trade groups, and this will really help you build that library of data. And you might even see some early indicators or problems. Early indicators of problems or new revenue opportunities once you have this in place and now you have this visibility. The third one here is seek out professionals. You don't have to go this alone. You can create a trusted advisor group with members from legal, cybersecurity, technology, and across the business. Really encourage you to, seek out guidance and help where you need it. Even Epicor, we work with Microsoft Azure, we work with AWS, for our cloud infrastructure and platform as a service providers. They're such massive organizations. They, have far greater, financial resources, cybersecurity experts, thousands on staff. So partnership is really important, and finding your trusted advisor to do what they're great at so you can focus on your business, I think is really a great best practice. Fourth one here is when you are choosing your technology platform, you want to go with one that's open, one that's flexible, and one that is scalable, because you're going to need a robust and a reliable technology platform that's going to help you understand your organization, help you anticipate change, help you remain flexible as you're bringing in new technologies. It can easily connect in with open APIs that are secure, they're easy to work with. Many platforms now have a low code, no code user interface or user experience that helps even the average business users maintain the technology platform and the data cleansing, within the system as well. Even BI tools have low code, no code user experience. Epicor uses, we have Grow, is the solution embedded within our Kinetic solution. And that again has a really, really easy to use experience. So definitely look to those modern technology platforms. They're going to be easy for your teams to pick up, and that'll deliver time to value very quickly. The fifth one here is creating standards. So you are going to need a governance and a guidance process in place to carry you through whatever challenges you come across. A data governance team can really help you oversee the data that's collected, how it's managed, how it's organized. And accurate data is going to really help you, with better analysis and more precise insights. And the sixth one here, the last one I just wanted to point out, is to empower your team, right? Let's go back to the importance of the team. Ensure everyone across the organization has the right access to the data they need. And this is important, right? Because the right access to the data they need could mean that they don't need access, right? So it's really important to know, across your organization, what kind of information do the people need, and then provide that information. It could be portions of it. It could be that your administrators need, more access than they currently have. Just be intentional. Know your objectives, know your team's roles, and how this team works together. This is going to help you drive investments and budgeting decisions. Some tools have a per user price, some charge by usage or data storage. Some are unlimited users, right? So you're just going to want to know across your business who is going to be accessing this information, how are they going to be using it, what value is it going to be providing them. And this could really, help you in these kinds of decisions. This also includes your upskilling initiatives, right? As you're training your team members. Okay, so those are some of the best practices. Are you ready to get started? Okay, well, let's get into the recommended steps for those of you who are ready to jump in. So first is identify your data champion or a small team, but really you're going to want to find someone to take ownership over the push. They can help kickstart the initiative to be a more to be more of an industry leader, to accelerate your operations, to improve team morale. Shifting to a data first approach, doesn't only require these operational changes, but will require a cultural shift as well. So it's going to have to be an important team member, an important leader that can really help be your data champion. Secondly is to define your business objectives. So the next step is to really collect data, not just the next step is to not just start collecting data, but to plan the business objectives for your data, right? Because again, we don't want to get overloaded. We don't want to, overcomplicate things. We want to know what are the objectives before we start collecting this data. What do you want the data to do for you? What do you want it to answer for your business? What kind of stories are you looking for the data to tell? What KPIs or key performance indicators do you need to track over time? And really let those questions guide the types of data that you'll start to collect. Step 3, understand what kind of data you have and what may be missing. So like we talked about, a lot of businesses don't know yet what kind of data they have and what they really need. So, you'll look to those questions of those objectives that you've created. Do you have this data already? Is it reliable? Do you have multiple sources of the truth for the data? A great example here is if you want to better understand your throughput time, do you have ways to collect data on the number of items produced, as well as the time it takes to produce them? How do your calculations change over time during certain shifts or with certain materials? How do you stand up to industry benchmarks? So again, there are so many different types of data that you might already have, and then data that could be missing that you can tackle. All right. Fourth one here is expand the team for greater organizational reach and impact. So further empower your data champion by expanding the team of data experts that'll oversee gathering the data. This doesn't have to be internal talent. It can be external, but I do recommend looking at internal talent first, especially within your IT team. Generally, IT professionals have the greatest insight and visibility across the business and how data is already being used across your organization. When you do look to external talent, you can look to those who, have experience in solving specific data concerns, specific data network providers, might be able to help. And then fifth here is understanding that it's a journey. There will be lots of ups and downs, so set milestones to continue to keep your team aligned with those desired outcomes and continue to celebrate success along the way. Iterate on your strategy as you go, as well as account for your resources and your investments. Okay, now I just want to share a little bit with you about Epicor. If you are interested in learning more, we can help answer questions that you have. But I mentioned Epicor is a billion-dollar software organization serving the make, move, sell economy. And those are the manufacturing organizations, distribution organizations, building supply, automotive, and retail. We are this essential providers of industry productivity solutions across the make, move, sell economy. And just a little bit more about us. We were founded in 1972. We're headquartered in Austin, Texas. We're in over 120 countries, so we are very global. Wanted to also share, a couple of our customers. So over 21,000 customers are using Epicor every day. Some of these brands I'm sure you recognize, and we're so glad to partner with these organizations. And then when it comes to data, it's pretty exciting to see what's happening out there. As we continue to work with these organizations, we're seeing the ways in which industry lines are starting to blur, and manufacturing organizations are really, taking advantage of data that's within distribution organizations or retail and automotive. It's just really exciting to see the ways in which those physical lines have now blurred and are really becoming data-driven business networks. Okay, and of course, to learn more about Epicor, you can always go to epicor.com. And with that, I think I'll turn it over for questions.
All right. Well, thank you, Kerrie. It was a really good presentation. Appreciate your insights today on this topic. So now our presenter, Kerrie here, will answer questions from the audience. Type your questions for our presenter in the Ask a Question box on your screen. We'll get to as many questions today as time allows. Questions we don't get to today will be posted online with the archived version of this webcast. Remember, to download a certificate of completion and a copy of the presentation, use the Event Resources tab on the left side of your screen. All right, so we got about 10 minutes. So we'll start off with this question. Where do I start building data into more of our operations?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So it's like, where do I start? A couple things. I would recommend, seeking out the business pain that you need to solve, right? Because if you, focus in on a problem area that your team has already acknowledged as a pain point, you're listening to them and you're helping to solve an important problem. So a couple examples. So if you're a small manufacturer, maybe you're growing very quickly. One area you could look to is work instructions. I've seen companies start there because, if you are growing very quickly, and all of the ways in which you build your product is tribal knowledge. It's going to be really difficult to continue to scale and grow if you don't digitize that kind of information, right? So you can better share it with new employees. For larger manufacturing companies, it could be business intelligence because you likely already have a variety of applications. And, once you start to pull together the data from those variety of applications and start to blend it, you'll get new visibility across the business that you didn't have before. So things like ERP, MES, CRM, right? You can start to then see how all of the data interplays and get some interesting insights. So yeah, that's where I'd recommend starting.
Yeah, and with all of that, I would also add that, we're using those pain points as a starting point, and if successful, it gives a proof of concept where you can expand and say, hey, it worked here, so why don't we try it in other places?
Yeah, right.
So next question, how can I provide access to the right data for the right employee?
Yeah, so we talked about making sure you provide just enough information because of course data security and data privacy are really important. So a couple things, there are a lot of tools that are already pre-built into those modern technology platforms. A lot of them have role-based security measures, role-based security controls. You can also use identity management solutions like Okta, Azure Directory. Epicor has the Epicor Identity Provider. Those are multi-factor authentication, single sign-on types of tools, so you can help ensure that your people are accessing what they should be accessing.
Yeah, definitely a lot of ways to keep that information private and secure, especially with I'd say biometrics and that kind of stuff. I know that's a great way to protect your information by using yourself as kind of the security tool.
Yep.
Next question we have, how can I develop an ROI to validate the effort required to have more data-driven operations?
ROI is going to matter, absolutely, because you're going to want to demonstrate that this is a valid business investment. I would say go to your the ways in which you do business cases for other things, right? So it would be total cost of ownership types of calculations,
Mhm.
understanding the business pain area that you're going to focus. What is the investment that's going to be required, and then map out your estimated benefits. And once you have that all calculated, you can have a more data driven decision making process, because you're going to have the cost calculations, and the potential payoff. So it does, I think, warrant a focused business case to ensure that you're investing in the right way. And then you can also
Mhm.
kind of phase it in over time if it's going to be something that you're going to start small, but maybe grow by year 2 and year 3, even more. If that's also something you can kind of phase in over time and calculate total cost of ownership.
And kind of as a follow-up, is it important to have a model that is easily repeatable, or do you want to play to each scenario in a unique way, or do you want to have something you can kind of repeat for other situations?
Yeah, I guess it depends, right? It probably depends on the type of business. Like
Mhm.
if you're a large manufacturer made up of multiple companies, in a variety of different types of types of companies, and you can even have a variety of different sub verticals. It's
Mhm.
probably going to be business dependent. I
Mhm.
would say stick to some core standards. That way, it's not a
Sure.
super overwhelming task every time, right? And also, your executive team will have something that they can expect, in a format that they expect, and it kind of helps to accelerate the process. So yeah, I would say it probably depends, but maybe a core set of
Yeah.
calculations will help.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Next question we have is, how important is predictive and preventive maintenance with the as a service model, not just data, but other as a service models, but we'll stick with data for the argument here, as a service model in terms of helping companies make better and more informed decisions?
Yes. Okay. So I think this isn't that's a really good question, because I think that as a service and the predictive types of maintenance solutions could be not only beneficial to you as an organization to help control your costs
Mm-hmm.
and to correct problems on the shop floor before they become even bigger problems, but it could also be a revenue generating model, right? Because we see as a service business models really open up new ways in which to create value for your customers. And so I think it creates new opportunities that are really important to evaluate, because it could mean a new arm to your business, a new revenue stream that you could tap into. What types of as a service could you offer? I've seen this done in a couple of variety of ways, and in working with our customers, we've had a lot of exciting discussions about it. Like once you start to apply IoT type of devices to your products, you get better visibility into where they are throughout their life cycle. You get better visibility into problems that might be building up that you can then go solve for, offer that service to your customers. So I think there are so many possibilities out there.
Yeah, and as we alluded to in our previous question, every company is unique, and every company has their own sort of interesting wrinkles, and you can really it's so flexible in that way, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right, we have just enough time for one more question, so we'll close out with this. How is the as a service model as a whole, do you think, changed how manufacturers conduct their operations?
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, that's a really good question. I think it has transformed the expectation on the provider of these
Mhm.
applications, that they are paying for as a service, right? Because it now creates a tighter partnership with their technology providers that we haven't seen before, because there's skin in the game, right? So
Mhm.
I think it's pretty exciting, because that means the manufacturer can have greater influence over the future roadmap of these technology providers. And that goes the same way too. So if you are a manufacturer that has a as a service type of business model that you're providing to your customers, this creates a great opportunity for you to be a closer partner to your customers, again, going back to creating a better customer experience, empowered through data. So yeah, I think it's creating these exciting new revenue models, longer term relationships, closer relationships between vendors and technology providers. So yeah, a lot to come.
The barriers are definitely falling, and we're coming together for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, thanks, Kerrie, for those really insightful answers, and thanks for the great questions. And I'll get one more shout out to Kerrie Jordan for sharing her time and expertise today with this really good presentation. Thank you, Kerrie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right, and now that we're just about done, we want to hear how we did today. The exit survey will pop up on your screen as soon as the webcast ends. Please take a moment to complete it because we use this information to improve our webcasts. And finally, on behalf of Plant Engineering and Epicor, I'd like to thank you, the attendee, for joining us today. This concludes our webcast. Thank you and have a good day.